take the keywords out of the job and put them in your resume. Now, don't copy and paste the job description. That's one of the disqualifiers from AI. They'll look at that and go, oh, they just copied and pasted, disqualified. Also think through for every single job, what is going to disqualify? So if you have an advanced degree and they're looking for somebody who doesn't have an advanced degree, maybe take that off your resume. I know that seems like a little weird, but you might end up overqualifying yourself. I know that's super weird. I hate it too. Welcome to Management Material. My name is Catherine Laan. I started my career at the bottom as an assistant and worked my way up to become the boss's boss in 8 years. And man, I love management. Welcome back to Management Material. My name is Catherine Laan, and I am your host in our same series about how to find a new full-time job. Today we're talking about building an AI-proof resume and cover letter. This is kind of a difficult thing to do, but it's really not that difficult. I'm going to give you a few steps, but first I'm going to tell you that the world of finding a new job has completely changed. With the advent of AI and it's kind of funny, everyone kind of experimenting with AI, recruiters using AI, job searchers using AI. I read an article the other day about a journalist who was applying to jobs and was like, what the hey, I'm gonna use AI to apply to a bunch of jobs. And so she used AI to write her resume and cover letters and auto apply to whichever job it wanted to. I think she applied to something like 500 jobs within the week, which is like crazy. That's a lot of jobs, right? Nobody here would apply to 500 jobs within a week. So anyway, I'll skip to the punchline, but she wrote a bunch of her story, right? Wrote what happened and the feedback she received. She wrote that she was basically blacklisted from a bunch of companies, two in particular, that she absolutely wanted to work with. I mean, they just flat out rejected her because her cover letter was written so poorly and her resume was written so poorly. She was a journalist. But then she did receive I think she got interviews with a few different companies, and she went through and ended up getting a job offer or two for jobs for positions she didn't want, which is kind of funny. So she wrote at the end there, she said, basically, don't do that. Don't use AI to build your resume and cover letter. It is not worth it. You will get blacklisted. It ended up creating a lot more work for her because she had to then go to the companies that eventually she does want to work for and say, hi, I'm a journalist. I was doing a little story on using AI. I wanted to have some material for the story. So I did all these. Please don't blacklist me. Please don't just fully reject me from your systems forever. It just created a lot of work for her. And also she was going through these interviews and she figured out through the interviews that she didn't want the jobs that she ended up being offered. So she went back and wrote all this article and whatnot, but she basically said, don't use AI like that. Let's not do that to ourselves and let's not do that to the hiring managers either. So I want to go into today how to build a resume that is AI proof and a cover letter that is AI proof. I've used AI detection software. I have used ChatGPT, OpenAI. I've used Copilot. I've used a lot of different AI technologies, like a lot of them, to try to test all this stuff out, and nothing beats a human written resume. Just nothing beats it. That is what I do all day is I take people's AI resumes, usually that is what they've done, where they're super frustrated, they can't get new jobs, and I rewrite them. So let me tell you how to do that, all right? Let me tell you exactly what I do. So most companies use some sort of AI or software that weeds resumes out now. And they weed them out by identifying keywords and seeing what percentage match the resume and cover letter is to the job posting. As a hiring manager, when I worked with recruiters, and no offense if you're a recruiter, but I found that the recruiters I worked with had a very, very shallow understanding of the job that I was hiring for. It did not matter if it was an assistant job or a project manager job or a product manager job or a market development manager or a content manager. It did not matter who I was hiring or interviewing for. They had a very surface level understanding of what the job was. And so I would get all these resumes that went through the software and then went through the recruiter, and they were just totally not what I was looking for. It was different. I'm not even going to get into examples because I don't want to offend people. but they were like a total mismatch as to what I was looking for, even when I gave a fully written, wonderful, like, profile to the recruiter. So I have very little faith in AI and recruiters being able to sift through and figure out who is a good candidate for a position. When I was a hiring manager, I basically just said, just give me everything. I will sift through it really quickly. And I gave like 2 seconds, 3 seconds to every single resume. I'd be like, all right, nope, rejected, gone. Send the rejection email. So, I'd press a bunch of buttons really quickly just to get through it. But a lot of places still use those AI to sift through the resumes and the cover letters. So let me tell you how they work so that you can work with them and work around them. We're going to take 2 different tactics here, okay? And this works a lot. Every single time that I work with somebody and they use all of my tactics, they get the interviews. Then we do a little bit more like interview coaching and whatnot. They get the interviews and they eventually get to that negotiation stage. All right. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to get every single job you want, but I am going to say this works a lot better than just like hoping and wishing the software would all work and that it might land you a job one day. So be strategic and listen up. Okay, that was a lot of introduction. I'm sorry that took a while. So AIs go through resumes and cover letters by identifying what they think are keywords and then also identifying what they think are disqualifiers. So part of your job in writing your resume is to go through every single job description of the jobs that you're applying to and highlight the keywords. Now, you're pretty smart and AIs are trained around human nature. So go through and highlight things like if you are a designer, highlight the programs that they said that you need to work with. Highlight the action words that they say you need to be. In any job description, highlight the action words and then take those and put them in your resume. Start every bullet point with an action word, then go into the resources, what you had, and the results. Every bullet point should read, action verb, using whatever resources, did this result. Okay, so things like, let's say you are in design, which is funny, I've never directly hired somebody. And so let's say designed and built a new website using WordPress version whatever, I don't care, using WordPress version whatever to increase conversions from 2% to 6% or whatever it was, okay? So always use real numbers, always use the real results. So that was an example of a bullet point. So I usually rewrite resumes. If I have to write resumes, then I keep the person on the Zoom for a little while I'm writing it. But something like that. So take your resume, rewrite it in that format, every single bullet point, and then for every single job, take the keywords out of the job and put them in your resume. Now, don't copy and paste the job description. That's one of the disqualifiers from AI. They'll look at that and go, oh, they just copied and pasted, disqualified. Also think through for every single job, what is going to disqualify? So if you have an advanced degree and they're looking for somebody who doesn't have an advanced degree, maybe take that off your resume. I know that seems like a little weird, but you might end up overqualifying yourself. I know that's super weird. I hate it too, but it helps. It does help. So that is one of the major ways to build a resume when an AI comes in and goes, oh, I'm reading the experience. Here are all of the keywords. And if you can't find a place to put your keywords, section them out between like skills and stuff you've done. Put a section in your resume that has skills and pop those keywords in there somewhere. All right. Put in there experience after experience, put in education. If you have like 6, 7, 8 years of experience at least, put your experience first. If you have like 5 years or less of experience, put your education first on your resume. It's just like a nice formatting thing. And then put in your hobbies and volunteer at the bottom so that you're a well-rounded, nice person. So you can put in some hobbies and stuff and the AI will look at that and probably not disqualify you from those. It depends on what they are. If your hobbies are counterproductive to your career, just don't include them. I work with a lot of people who work in finance or software engineering or a lot of PhDs working on their CVs, going for scientific roles, and They're just kind of annoyed at the whole process, right? So a lot of MBAs, I work with a lot of MBAs, generally can't be bothered to write their resumes, which is totally fine. So I worked with this one guy who's in finance, did auditing and something else, and he was not a writer. And he sent me his resume. It was in a Word file. There were 2 different fonts used. It was really hard to read. There were no action verbs. And it was like 3 pages long. He had 7 years of experience. It absolutely could have been condensed to 1 page. And there was no semblance of organization or order or grammar. So I went through and sat with this guy, went, all right, tell me about the jobs you're going through. Email me 4 or 5 different links to jobs. So he did. He emailed me 4 or 5 links. He emailed me his current resume. We sat down. I did record him, and I do use AI for this, and said, okay, give me a summary of your career and your accomplishments in your last 2 roles. And then we went back and forth in email a little bit, and I was like, here's your first draft resume. Then I said, all right, now I'm going to modify these for like however much per resume draft for each role of yours. Here's exactly how I do it. I'm scanning through, I'm looking at the keywords, I'm putting the keywords over here, I'm shifting them between skills and your accomplishments, and I'm trying to help the resume qualify you for the jobs. So I did that, and I'm happy to say it's been 2 weeks, I think, and he has some amazing interviews lined up. But here's what he didn't do. He didn't just rely on that resume, and he didn't just rely on the cover letter that he was writing to include more of the keyword. He took my advice and did something else too. He went around the AI. So part of finding a new full-time job is being really clever and going to LinkedIn, finding anyone at the company you want to work with or work for who has anything in common with you. Whether it's your alma mater, whether you worked at a similar place, you know somebody in common. So it's like a second, what is that called? Second degree friend or something like that. 2 degrees of separation. So you find anything that you have in common with them and you shoot them a little LinkedIn message that says, hey, I see this role here at this company that I want to work at. And I just don't really know that much about your company. Can we sit down for just a 15-minute Zoom call and discuss the company culture, discuss what's going on at that company? I just want to learn more before I apply. Oh, and I realized we both went to the same school. So go UMass or whatever bulldog thing at BU or what have you. Just say, hey, we both went to this school. We both know this person. We both worked at this place. I don't know if you remember me, but I would love to learn more about the company you currently work at. I'm looking to apply to this position. Do you have any time in the next week to talk to me about it? And most people want to help. I mean, unless they're psychopaths, most people do want to help and they can find 15 minutes. So they'll sit down. So he sat down with this person, talked about the company culture. So then he sat down with this guy and they got to know each other. He asked questions about the company. And he said, hey, you know what? My company has a referral bonus. If I refer you and you get hired, I get $2,500. So how about you send me your resume and cover letter and I'll refer you in the system and get you to the hiring manager. And so that is how he got around the AI. And the hiring manager looked at his resume and was like, oh, wow, he's very qualified. Oh, that's a stellar resume. Why didn't I see this before? And, and it didn't get through the recruiter, but it got through the AI because recruiters. And so now he's sitting down and he's talking through a managerial position, a supervisor position in a finance group that he wants to be part of. He's having those interviews right now. So how do you build an AI-proof resume and cover letter? You do 2 things. You pull out the keywords and you make sure they're in your resume and your cover letter. Make sure it's grammatically correct. Make sure that it's professional looking, polished, and it fits into resumes from within your field, right? So some people have CVs, some people have resumes. They're formatted differently depending on what you do for work. Great. The second thing you do is you go around the system. You do what I just said. You contact somebody from that company that you have anything in common with, and talk to them about company culture, talk to them about the position, what they know, and get them that referral bonus. Everybody wants a little bit more money, especially now. So the bottom line here is go and be bold. Go be bold. Go do the work. Make sure you have a stellar resume and apply for positions where you have at least like 60 to 80% of the qualifications. So I'm looking at you ladies. If you're like the majority of ladies and you're like, "Oh, I don't 100% qualify," apply anyway. Take these steps anyway. Then go nail that interview. Okay. If you need help, and if you thought this was helpful, please comment. But if you need help, there is a link in the description of this podcast, wherever you are listening, YouTube, Spotify. Go to saverstreet.com and book a complimentary consultation. Or I manage 2 companies, or you can go to managementmaterialcoaching.com and book a complimentary consultation. I am happy to talk to you, or somebody on my team will, okay? And we're happy to build a resume for you. We are happy to write your cover letters. We are happy to do whatever coaching you need. We also have this amazing group called Get a New Full-Time Job, where we go through all of this in a lot more detail and help coach you through it. And you see everybody else's successes, and it gives you a lot more motivation, a lot more confidence, because you're seeing everybody else get a new full-time job and negotiate their salaries and build themselves up and build all this stuff up, basically sometimes from scratch. So come join our group, talk to us, let's get you going. Click that link below and let's see what your best next step is. All right, I will see you in the next episode.